Hey, it's September 30th, 2020, and it's time for your Wednesday devotional. Sorry we missed the opportunity to put this together last week, but we're back at it this week and kind of in an every other week sort of pattern these days, and maybe that's okay. I want to shout out a big word of thanks to those of you who've been praying for me. I was working through my dissertation, my project, and I asked many of you to pray for me. And some of you have reached out to find out whether I was able to finish chapter one of my project, and I did. I finished it last night, turned it in last night, and I'm sure there'll be some revisions that go out as well. But for now, at least that's off my plate. I can start working on chapter two soon, and I try to spend my Tuesdays dedicated to that coursework, and then the rest of the week dedicated to the church specifically. So that's kind of the pattern I work on. Sometimes it works well, sometimes not. But yesterday I was up here at church and I was really focused. And so your prayers made a big, big difference. I wasn't distracted and I was able to get quite a bit done up here at church. So thank you for your prayers. Thank you for asking. Things are moving along, albeit slowly. Well, hey, like many of you, I've always had this struggle to find time to read and study and pray with any sort of regularity. Now, I read and I pray and I study in preparation for writing a sermon. I've always done this, but even then I've done this with a measure of selfishness. And here's what I mean by that. Because if I didn't read, I didn't pray, I didn't study, I probably wouldn't have a whole lot to say on Sunday morning. Now, someone recently told me that they had a dream or a nightmare before they preached on Sunday morning, and that nightmare was just that. They were asked to preach, and they woke up that morning and they had nothing to say whatsoever. Well, believe it or not, every once in a while, I still have that dream. I still wake up gasping for breath because I've been asked to preach, but I'm not ready to do so. All to say, in preparing for Sunday morning, I spend time reading and studying and praying, because if I didn't, it would be an especially ugly Sunday morning for most of you. So, but what I'm talking about this morning specifically, though, has to do with an everyday pattern for prayer and study on a more personal level. Now, if COVID has helped me, and perhaps it's helped in more ways than one, but it's helped me. Here's where it's helped me the most. On an individual basis for the last 6 months, I've been able to really develop this portion of my devotional life like I haven't in a long, long time. And here's how. I've been getting up between 5:30 and 6 a.m. And let me just say, I haven't always been that sort of morning kind of person, but for some reason or in some way, maybe it's just God working in my life, He has been waking me up earlier and earlier, and I get up about 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning. This morning it was 6. And the first thing I've been doing is not reaching for my phone. For the last 6 months, my pattern, my habit has been to reach for my Bible instead. And so the Bible that I've been reading from is called the One Year Bible. I've mentioned that in Sunday. And it's a Bible that this morning, for example, I read from 4 different books of the Bible. So Isaiah, there's a reading from Isaiah under today's date, a reading from Philippians, a reading from the Psalms, and a reading from Proverbs. And so read all 4 of those passages. In total, it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes each day to read. Now, I'm a pretty fast reader. I have to learn to slow down when it comes to reading the Bible, especially, and not just press on and move on to the next thing. But it takes me about 15 to 20 minutes each day to read, and read at a pretty moderate pace. And again, while I could break up the reading, I could break it up throughout the day. For me, it works best if I just get it all done first thing in the morning, out of the way in the morning. If I try to do this at night, for instance, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't make it through the entire reading. I'd probably fall asleep doing so. So it works best for me to do this early on in the morning with a cup of coffee or 2 or many, and it just works good for me to do it that way. Now, having shared this, here's where I'm really trying to take this even a step further. So getting in the habit of reading the Bible first thing before anything else, before I even look at the news on my phone. But over and above this, I've had this growing compulsion to incorporate a more focused and directed time of prayer into my devotions as well. Last time I was with you, I challenged you to think and pray about grabbing a copy of this little book by Pete Greig called How to Pray. And as part of a book club that I'm in right now. We are reading through this at a pretty slow pace of about 2 chapters a week. And I encourage you to get a copy of that. And enough of you are interested in doing so, we can work through the book ourselves and just work through a few chapters a week. And if you're interested in that, please let me know. You've got a copy, you're reading it, and we can put together some sort of reading schedule. So if you're interested in doing that, I think the book is like $14 online on Amazon, but it's a great little book, and it's got some really helpful stuff in here that I think you'll be challenged by. So that's what I did. I challenge you on that, and I'm about 2 chapters in, but it's really, really good. And one of the biggest takeaways, though, that I've had so far in this book is really, really simple, and that is this. When we pray, we need not worry about these grandiose words or even whether we're doing it right. And I think that's what trips us up about prayer sometimes. We think we have to say the exact right words. We have to do it the right way. Maybe there's only one way to pray, and that's not the case at all. And one of the things that this book is really helps us with is the simple fact that prayer is very simple. And we begin to understand that when it comes to prayer, there's very few rules, you might say, when it comes to prayer. Now, we've all heard that majestic prayer offered by a pastor, a grandparent, or that ultra-religious, uncle of ours, or whoever it might be. But here's the deal. Our prayers don't have to look or even sound like all of that. They don't. Here, because I'm a little odd and a little weird and neurotic at times, I love what Pete Craig says. This is what he says in the book. He says, God invites you to pray simply, directly, and truthfully in the full and wonderful weirdness of the way he has made you. Now, you can ask my kids if I pray some weird prayers at times during dinner, because sometimes I do. And God, I think, is okay with that. That's what Craig is saying here. God invites you to pray simply, directly, and truthfully in the full and wonderful weirdness of the way he has made you. He's made us all unique. He's made us all different. Some of us are weird. Some of us are neurotic. Maybe I am. Anyway, all to say, let's not worry so much about what we sound like or even the words that we use, but rather let's begin to make room in our schedules for a regular conversation with God. So if you're looking for a way to do this outside of the book, if you're not big into books, there's also a new app that I just discovered for my phone, and it's put together by Pete Greig and the 24/7 prayer movement that he began several years back. It's a free download, and it's called Lectio 365. Lectio 365. It was actually developed by him and his movement, and it's a free download that and working through these on a daily basis, because there's something every single day. Working through these on a daily basis may be just what you need to really begin to jumpstart your daily prayer life and walk with God. So I'm going to encourage you to check that app out. Again, Lectio 365, or the book How to Pray by Pete Craig right here. Use these tools. And again, let me challenge you to begin a daily conversation with God, who longs to hear from us every single day. Take me up on that challenge. Please let me know what you're doing. Would love to hear some feedback on what you might be doing to either better or improve your devotional life and or your prayer life specifically. Let me know. God bless you. Have a great Wednesday. Hopefully we'll see you again next week.